if you go to any QA forum and decide to ask XPath or CSS, you will basically start a religious war. You will have very polarizing opinions, and many of those who will be the most vocal would be along the lines of XPath is so slow, XPath is bad, XPath is too heavy, XPath relies on old XML engines, XPath is this or XPath is that. So let me clarify something. If anyone tells you that XPath is too slow, they are operating on the knowledge dating back to the times of Internet Explorer version 6. And so today we are going to kill this and many more myths once and for all in order to allow you to make the decision for yourself. Welcome to Testeroni. I'm Casper and I'm here to help QA engineers become test automation engineers one slice at a time. So let's take a closer look at the syntax. Let's jump to our Blackboard and let's start round 1, which will be based on Brevity. So let's do XPath on the left-hand side and CSS on the right. So let's say we want to find an element by its ID. In XPath, it would be / because we are looking for any element. And in the square brackets, we are doing the filtering. So at ID equals, for example, login. All right, but in the case of CSS, it's as easy as doing a hashtag login. So I think we can all agree that CSS is the clear winner here. So we have a point for CSS. So now how about a class if we want to locate an element by the class attribute? Whether that's sensible or not is a topic we have already covered in one of the previous videos, but still, let's say we want to use it. Maybe it's a functional class. So in the case of XPath, we do the same thing as above. So we do add class equals, say, button. But in the case of CSS, we just do dot or a period button. And so once again, it's hard to argue that CSS comes out victorious. It's so clean and concise when you try to compare it to what XPath is offering. So we can come to a sensible conclusion that for simple types of attributes like IDs and classes, it's quicker to use CSS. It's what the front-end developers use. The syntax is way cleaner and shorter. So we can say that CSS certainly is the winner here. So let's jump to round number 2 in this situation. So let's do round 2 attributes. And once again, on the left-hand side, we have XPath. And on the right-hand side, we have CSS. And so when we have a custom attribute, like for example, a name attribute, in the case of XPath, the syntax stays basically the same to what we had before. We specify the type of tag. So let's say it's an input that has a custom attribute called name, and the value of that is, let's say, username. So you can see that for the XPath, the syntax stays basically the same as it was for ID or class because it does not present any special treatment towards other types of attributes. All attributes are created equal for XPath. For CSS, it's not the same because CSS does have this cool characters like a dot or a hashtag for class and ID, but it does not have anything for all the custom attributes that may come because it cannot foresee all the attributes that may be presented within the code. So in the case of XPath, we would just do input. So that's the type of the tag we are targeting, and name equals username. So in this situation, I would say that's a draw basically because the syntax is so close that I would say both of them get a point. Yeah, you are dropping the double slash at the beginning of the CSS, but that's purely cosmetic. We can't really decide that CSS is a clear winner just because you don't need the @ symbol or the double slash at the beginning. This is just like syntactic sugar. You don't really need to worry about that. So I would say that the round 2 is a draw, but still CSS is winning on points from round number 1, right? So let's go to round number 3. Round 3, and once again, XPath on the left-hand side, CSS on the right. So now, let's try and do something familiar from the previous episodes. Let's try to find a button by the text that is attached to it. So in the case of XPath, we have already solved this puzzle in the previous episodes. So we have a button, and then we filter using the text function, and we provide the login text inside. Alright, so this looks familiar, it's easy enough. So now let's jump to the CSS side. And the problem is we have to do a big X here because CSS cannot do it. CSS does not present you with any mechanism to target the text inside of an element. It does not have any contains text pseudo class or any way of filtering so that it can target the text. And this is basically the knockout punch that XPath is handing CSS. If you want to find an element by what it says rather than its attributes, CSS cannot do it. In such a scenario, pure CSS is useless, and that is a very large number of points going towards XPath. Because in automation, you are testing the user's journey. You are testing what the user sees. You are not really testing the code, the attributes. Of course, you are using this in order to speed up your automation or in order to target the specific elements, but in general, you are testing the user's experience. So if you can target something using the way that the user would interact with it, a human would interact with it, then it's all for the better, but you can't do it using pure CSS. So you can't really test user experience in the same manner which you can do with XPath. Basically, XPath allows you to test the UX, while CSS forces you to test using the code internal specifics. And now let's also talk about one of the more prominent arguments against XPath is that CSS is faster. And yeah, theoretically, maybe your XPath can be 0.0001 milliseconds slower than the CSS counterpart. But the truth is, it doesn't really matter at all. Like, you should be worried about the thread sleep of 5 seconds you have put somewhere in your code. You should be worried about the API call that's taking 2 seconds to respond. Because the truth is, in modern browsers, the difference between XPath and CSS is negligible. You shouldn't worry about that at all. It simply does not matter. You shouldn't optimize for milliseconds or parts of milliseconds when the network lag is measured in full seconds. So here is my rule of thumb, the head chef's recommendation at the Testroni restaurant, if you will. So use CSS if you have nicely defined IDs or classes, because it's way more concise, it's easier to read, it keeps the code clean. But use XPath whenever you want to target the text or the relationships of the elements, like parent of this element or a parent of this element. And while modern CSS is catching up regarding the second department because it cannot do text, but it is catching up regarding the relationships department, it's still, I would say, crawling, not even walking in this department, while XPath is scaling the trees. It was born with this in mind, so it's the natural habitat of it, and the mechanisms of traversing the hierarchy, the DOM hierarchy in XPath, it's second nature to XPath. It handles complex navigation with grace and naturally. But having said all that, I just want you to remember to not be a zealot. Use a tool for the job. Use a type of locator that makes your code easy to maintain, easy to read, that makes your scripts readable, basically. But speaking of relationships, a couple seconds back, I have mentioned the superpower of XPath, which is traversing the DOM hierarchy backwards, so going up, like selecting a child and then going up to highlight the parent. And that is a superpower that we have not covered yet, but we will in the very next episode. So stop worrying about the speed, choose the right tool for the job, and in order not to miss the next episode where we're going to be diving deeper into XPath and its traversing superpowers, please remember to like and subscribe to the Testroni channel, and I'll see you there. But until then, please remember to keep on rocking.